I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and I realized I needed to make something that would allow me to monitor a deer trail and figure out when the deer were using these trails. Well, this was in 1984. That led to a 4-year project that eventually led to the development of our first product called the Deer Finder. And then the hunting markets really exploded in 2002, 2003 when digital cameras came out. That's when everybody was getting trail cameras. Who would have thought we'd be here today, looking back at 1984 to today, that here we are, put a camera in the woods and the pictures show up on my phone and I don't have to do anything to get them. Come a long ways in 40 years. And we're happy to say that we are the oldest trail camera company on the planet. We've been making trail cameras longer than any other brand that's currently out there.
My name's Jeff Altoff from Homegrown Outfitters and Love the Grind TV. At Love the Grind TV, we hunt all across the Midwest. At Homegrown Outfitters, we own, manage, and run clients in both Kansas and Wisconsin. Here in Wisconsin, we've got 20 farms that we own and manage. We design them from scratch, and the CuddeLink system is a big part to not just getting an inventory of the deer on the property, but also how we set up our farms from day one and how we put together a strategy for turning our farms into world-class properties. So here in Buffalo County, Wisconsin, we deal with a lot of topographical changes, big bluffs, and with big bluffs comes areas with little to no service, and that's really where the CuddeLink system shines. Here at Homegrown Outfitters, we take those areas where there's no service, we put CuddeLink cameras in there, and we link those cameras to areas with service. So there's no need to go in and pull an SD card, put intrusion on that farm, because we're using the patented technology, the CuddeLink system, that allows that camera with no service to link to a spot that does have service. That camera that does have service then transmits that information to us. Also, we're not paying a cell cam fee for those areas with no service. A perfect example of this is our cycle farm. We have all of these remote cameras spread out on the farm in areas where we do and don't have service. They link to the camera that does have service. That's the one cell camera on the farm, transmits information to us, and we're paying one cell cam fee and getting all the information from all the cameras on the farm. So the cycle farm's got a lot of spots to hunt, and we really rely on the CuddeLink system to tell us where and when to hunt those spots. This last fall, during the pre-rut hunt, we had a wild hunt that ended with one of our clients getting one of his biggest bucks to date. So this is a big farm and we run a lot of cameras on it. So if we were to pay subscriptions on all of the cameras that we run on this farm, it would get pretty expensive. So CuddeLink system comes in crucial, saves us a lot of money, and we just pay one cell cam subscription to get all the intel on the entire farm.
So digital cameras really is what took trail cameras from selling, tens of thousands of units a year to selling probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions a year. But it was really when cell cameras popped up about 5 years ago that really completely revolutionized how cameras are used. One thing that kind of shocked me when I was developing the Cuddeback camera is most of our competitors weren't developing cameras. They were just finding somebody in China to build them a camera, they'd stick their name on it and they would sell it. And we never did things that way. We always wanted to develop our own cameras, develop our own products, be in control of our technology, and always push the envelope a little bit better, try to do something a little bit better than everybody else. And that's what led us to think, we gotta do something different. I don't want to be like everybody else. What technology can we push to bring a better product to the market? So when we're looking at the cell market, I had 10 cameras out at the time. Do I want to spend $100 a month on trail cameras? I said, there's got to be a better way. So myself and our engineering people, we decided, can we make a link system that would use currently available mesh technology to bring the images back to a home camera? Well, it was a lot of work. It took us 5 years, but we persevered and we have a system out now that brings all the images from cameras back to a central home. Now, the advantage to the customer is instead of having $100, $200 cell bill for 10 cameras, with us they have $10 to $30. Maximum they have to spend is $30 a month on cell cameras, and they can have up to 24 and still only $30 a month. The other advantage is I can use my cameras in places where I don't have cell service or spotty cell service. And a lot of the places we hunt, you may have cell service in part of the property, but not other parts of the property. Or with CuddeLink, all that goes away. All I need is one spot that has reasonable cell service, and I can get my images out back to the user. But what's cool about this system is you buy another camera, you don't pay more money for the cell service. Buy another and another and another, and still your cell bill doesn't change. It stays at $10 a month. Well, at some point, you're probably going to exceed 1,000 images. Then bump up to our unlimited plan. That's only $30 a month. But again, go up to 24 cameras, still only $30 a month. So the nice thing, once you get into this system, we don't keep draining money from you as you buy more cameras. You continue to add cameras, and still your cell service fee doesn't change.
CuddeLink is very, very responsible for being influential in shooting my biggest buck to date.
Right now through September 30th, you can save $90 and get the 2+1 starter kit for only $400. Almost a $500 value when purchased individually. Visit your local retailer or visit Cuddeback.com to save now.
I have been using Cuddeback cameras all the way back since 2015. Fast forward to 2019 and CuddeLink was introduced to me. That was an absolute game changer. I've used CuddeLink as a quote-unquote land manager for a big property owner. I've used it on a lease, which is extremely important that we are able to be efficient on because we're putting an investment in. And I've used it on private property that's just permission. What is CuddeLink? It is a daisy chain system, and why is that so good? Well, number one, I don't have to go into my property. I don't have to be intrusive. I am able to ingest all this information while being effective and not disrupting things. You have a home camera, you put that somewhere that you can easily check, it's non-intrusive, and then you place the rest of your cameras across your property in a way that they end up talking to each other. And so CuddeLink is very, very responsible for being influential in shooting my biggest buck to date. You know, I had a once-in-a-lifetime deer to chase, and CuddeLink was one of the biggest difference makers in being able to successfully wrap a tag around that deer. We get into the summer, CuddeLink system's deployed, and something important to note, where all of these properties are, there is very minimal cell service. Well, CuddeLink addresses that more so than any other thing out there. You need one home camera location with cell service. Every remote camera past that doesn't need it. It communicates via the CuddeLink network and you're in business. So the way that this farm lays out, it's pretty simple. There's a big top, that's where I ended up placing the home camera, and then all of the remote cameras were daisy chained into the bottoms. I was able to cover the entire farm, no worries about cell service. And right away we started to get information, but I never could have anticipated what this would turn into. And then all of a sudden, what shows up? We're in the month of September, this giant 10 and full velvet, and the velvet wasn't stripping. And we were able to pretty much figure out his summer pattern pretty accurately. You know, he was bedding on the backside of a ridge, coming out, working the bean field, make his way to Nebraska, making a big circle. World-class buck, giant cold front coming in, opening day. The stage is set, and what am I gonna rely on? I've got all this information historically of the last 3 or 4 weeks from the CuddeLink, and this deer has been there every single day on this Nebraska plot. So fast forward, it's the last day of September, opening day comes in the morning. I get a trail cam photo of the Velvet 10. We are going all in and hopefully make the memory of a lifetime.
Josh, so what did we just do?
So the final thing that I'll say on the CuddeLink is that if you're considering giving it a try, the only thing stopping you is yourself. It is the tool of all tools. It's the most cost-effective option out there. If you're a cellular trail cam user, if you're somebody that wants to better manage your land, be a part of your land in a more effective way, CuddeLink's the way to go. It's going to make you a better deer hunter, it's going to make you a better land steward, and ultimately, it's going to allow you to enjoy your land much more.
we got technology that nobody else has. Nobody has this mesh network system. We are the only one with CuddeLink. And I'm proud of the fact that we got patents on it to protect us, so theoretically, we have a really good chance that nobody will have a system like this until these patents expire. Normally, as hunters, we have to make compromises. You know, we only can afford so many tree stands, we only can afford so much property, we only can afford so many cell plans. You know, I want 15 cameras, but I can't afford, you know, $150 a month. Well, with CuddeLink, you don't have to compromise. You can keep adding as many cameras as you want without increasing your cell service fee.
He's a special deer. Watched him grow up in 4.5. He was a 17 pointer. Oh yeah, and then did I mention he scored 220?
For a limited time only, you can also save $30 per camera and get a CuddeLink IR or CuddeLink Black Flash remote camera for only $150. Visit your local retailer or visit Cuddeback.com to save now.
I started using Cuddeback probably back in 2018, and I've used a lot of different cameras before, trying all of them out. But I wanted to stick with them just because of the quality of the pictures and the fact that you can run so many cameras with it being so cheap compared to others. Yeah, this is this guy. He's a special deer. This deer showed up in 2018 and happened to save a picture of him. He had a bladed G2 as a 2.5-year-old, and then we watched him grow as a 3 and a 4, and watched him grow up into something special. As a 4.5, he was a 17 pointer, and so that was the deer I was zeroed in on, and started getting my Cuddeback network system up and watching the pictures roll in. I was running 73 plus cameras. To use that many cameras with the Cuddeback network system, you're really seeing what that deer is doing. So then once I started zoning in a little bit more on what he was doing during that particular time, I started zoning in on basically one ridge. So I had my tree picked out, I had a couple landmarks so I could find it in the dark. Same routine, wake up about an hour early, go through all of my Cuddeback pictures, and sure enough, about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, he was down in a pocket that was right down below this ridge top. And then a little bit later on, 4 or 5 o'clock, he was on the other side of this ridge at a water hole. And that ridge in between was the ridge that I had picked out my tree the night before. Just that feeling you get that you know that you're in the right spot. And I had that feeling all day. All of a sudden, everything up top, everything kind of stopped. And I heard something behind me. Not thinking anything of it, I literally just turned around. Just like that. I wasn't sneaky about it at all. And here he is, standing at the edge of the ridge, looking right at me. I mean, his head is up and he's looking right at me. And so I had the tree behind me, so I just kind of snuck behind the tree and I got my phone out and started videotaping him. And as he came up the hill, he loosened up more and more. You could see it in his body language. And just kind of completely forgot about me. And as he came up, I find one shooting lane, and so I ranged him. And I pulled back, and I knew I only had one opportunity, and I needed to make that shot. I remember letting that arrow fly and watching that arrow fall right into his chest and hit a pinwheel. Went in, found my arrow, and started tracking him. It was a special moment that I will never forget. It's special because of the family, friends that are all involved. Oh yeah, and then did I mention he scored 220? You know, it's just an unforgettable hunt. And because of Cuddeback, again, I was able to pattern this deer through the years and kind of know as the fall progressed on where he was going, what time of day he was doing it at, really being able to pattern this deer and doing everything right, but knowing that he's here, it's just a matter of time at that point.
Right now through September 30th, you can save $90 and get the 2+1 starter kit for only $400. Almost a $500 value when purchased individually. Visit your local retailer or visit Cuddeback.com to save now.
The story of Gun Rack started and ended with trail cam pictures, essentially. It was a story and a saga that began with big velvet pictures of a big deer, knowing we immediately needed to put together a strategy to try to harvest this big deer. And the hunt for gun rack, the CuddeLink system proved its weight in gold, not just once, but twice. So Southern Comfort is a special farm. It's got a big secluded food plot tucked back on this ridge top, and we set up the CuddeLink system back on this ridge top. We put multiple cameras back there to tell us when to go in and also when not to go in. So we place CuddeLink cameras all around the perimeter of this plot. So any deer that comes and goes into this plot, we get a picture of. It sends us that picture remotely. We know what's happening on this plot tucked way back on this ridge top without ever really stepping foot on it. So gun rack first showed up during velvet season. We could tell he was a special deer, but after he dropped his velvet and as it got closer and closer to that last part of October, he became more and more regular and started showing up in daylight more. So once it got to the point where we could put together a pattern on him based on the cell cam pictures we were getting sent to us, it was time to go in and hunt. Sure enough, first sit, one of our clients at Homegrown Outfitters, Jerry, goes in there, and the CuddeLink system proved its weight in gold the first time, and Jerry puts an arrow in gun rack. Unfortunately, Jerry wasn't able to make a lethal hit on gun rack, so we weren't able to find him. Jerry heads home. A couple days later, sure enough, guess who shows up on trail camera? It's gun rack himself, and he doesn't just show up on trail camera. He's alive and well. He's drinking water, he's making rubs and scrapes. He's kind of back to himself and back to the patterns that we initially put together a strategy on. So gun rack was doing exactly what he did before. We got Jerry back here to camp. We told him he's got to get here now. Gun rack's doing exactly what he was doing before. The CuddeLink system was telling us where he was going to be, when he was going to be there. Sure enough, Jerry shows up into camp, goes to hunt the Southern Comfort farm, sneaks back there. A couple hours later, Jerry's got another arrow in him, and this time it's a lethal hit. And Jerry is as ecstatic as ever, and you know, everyone here at the Homegrown camp was super excited that Jerry was able to close that chapter. And what an awesome example of how the CuddeLink system played a role in not just giving Jerry one, but two opportunities on his biggest buck to date.
The reason I made the switch to CuddeLink really comes down to really one thing when I really think about it, and that's the intrusion into these properties. The CuddeLink system, being able to be there when you don't have to be, not having to go in specifically and pull those cards and making those runs either on a bike or on a side-by-side, collecting all those SD cards, leaving scent at each location, having that intrusion. So essentially I'm able to be there without having to physically be there, and I think really makes this a critical part to me having the CuddeLink system on not one farm, not two farms, 3, 4. Every single farm that I have has a CuddeLink system on it, and the reason being is because it works. The hunt that comes to mind when I think of the CuddeLink system, and really it ended up being a successful hunt, was this last season, the chase for T-bone, when it finally came to a conclusion. We had learned that the neighboring property to the south, they had gone through the process of starting to put manure on the field during different times of the year, and I could tell you that the deer seemed hypersensitive to that as well. One of the things that I wanted to do to take advantage of that was I set up some strategic CuddeLink system cameras, so that night that I was able to be successful on harvest T-bone, that definitely came into play, because one of the regular patterns we had him on was that he was coming through that clover plot, which is coming around that actual area where they had spread manure, and he was coming right out into that field. Without that information, I don't think I'm setting up in that blind that night.
Man, Zach, you smooth. That was a fun one, Ty. Let's go. Let's go.
When I think back on the 2023 season, especially when you're targeting one specific buck and multiple farms to hunt, where are you going to hunt that evening when the conditions are good? And the Cuddebacks definitely led me to the blind that evening, and I was able to wrap my first landowner tag around a great buck.
What I'm most proud of is this CuddeLink system, and how so many people have called us up and said, geez, this is the best trail camera system on the market. And that was always our goal, to make the best trail camera system on the market, but do it at a reasonable price. So when you buy a CuddeLink camera, it's not a dead-end box. That box continues to grow and get better and better and better as you use it. And everything's compatible with each other. Our old cameras work with our new cameras. And our future cameras will work with the ones you buy today. With CuddeLink, there's no dead zones. With CuddeLink, there's no compromises on placement. With CuddeLink, there's no compromise on battery life. With CuddeLink, there's no compromise on mounting your cameras. For $30 a month, you can have 1, 2, 3, up to 24 cameras on one cell plan, and still only $30 a month.
Right now through September 30th, you can save $90 and get the 2+1 starter kit for only $400. Almost a $500 value when purchased individually. Visit your local retailer or visit Cuddeback.com to save now.